It's 1:30. The November 21st meeting of the Oklahoma City Traffic and Transportation Commission is called to order. Jim Witcher.
Yes, sir.
Walt Kula.
Here, sir.
Barry Hale. Here, sir. James Schuline.
Here.
Amon Jenkins. Milford J. Clayton.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Milford, would you lead us in prayer?
Be happy. Let us bow our heads in the attitude of prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We acknowledge you as our Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer of our soul. You are worthy of all the praises and thanksgiving. And as we have assembled here today to do the people's business, we pray that it would be with thy divine approval. Let us always remember that we're here to serve the people of this great metropolitan area. Now, dear Lord, we're going to end this conversation with 5 words. Let thy will be done. Amen.
Thank you. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes of the October 17th meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Clayton, seconded by Commissioner Witcher to approve the minutes. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3 is the report on licensed taxi and wrecker services. This is a quarterly report, and that report will be in January of 2012. Item number 4 is the consent docket. Is there anyone wishing to speak against an item on the consent docket? Do I have a motion to approve?
I move it be approved.
I will second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Schuline, seconded by Commissioner Witcher to approve the consent docket. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? The consent docket is approved unanimously. Thank you. Item 5A, the applicant is Bruce Smith, 3800 Northwest 8th Street, Oklahoma City. The request is to consider an all-way stop control at the intersection of North Tabor Drive and Northwest 8th Street. I don't think Mr. Smith is here. Could I have staff summary, please?
Okay, you've got our full report before you. As you can see, that just based on the traffic volumes and the collision history, there's not cause to recommend for the approval of all-way stop at the intersection at this point in time. Based on those conditions, you also notice that the applicant did furnish a petition indicating that the majority of residents in the area favor all-way stop control at the intersection. So action will be at the discretion of the commission.
Do I have a motion on 5A?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion to approve 5A.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kula, seconded by Commissioner Clayton, to approve 5A. Any further discussion? I'd like to make note that we as the Traffic Commission installed a similar stop sign about 3 blocks west of this intersection. And part of it is the limited sight distance that we have. It does meet the limited sight distance at 25 miles an hour, which it is a residential area, but the actual distance is 230 feet, the required sight distance. The actual distance we have is 240 feet. So if you're exceeding the speed limit at all, you're going to be out of range. The other thing is there are no curbs along the north side of 8th Street, and so people are parking in the grass along that area to be off of the pavement, which poses a temporary obstruction. So based on that, I think this is appropriate, and the fact that almost 90% of the residents are in favor of it. Any further discussion? If not, I would ask for your votes, please. Approved unanimously. Thank you. There is one other item with that, and that is a stop sign that's mounted on the fence, or the gate, actually. And I think, have we talked to Mr. Smith about removing that?
No, it was put in the staff report. We'll go ahead and send him some information to go ahead and just take it down. In the staff report, since he was sent a copy prior to the meeting, he does have this information. We'll just make sure that he removes it, does something else with it.
Okay, thank you. Item 5B, Ms. Ormanson has asked that this be continued to December. To the December meeting. Do I have a motion?
So I'd like to make a motion to move 5B to the December agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kula, seconded by Commissioner Witcher, to defer 5B until our December meeting. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Item is deferred until our December meeting. Thank you. Item 5C, the applicant is Jeanette Smith, Executive Director, Bricktown Association, 2 South Mickey Mantle Drive, Oklahoma City. The request is to consider a request for the addition of east-west bound stop signs on East Sheridan Avenue at Joe Carter Avenue to establish all-way control stop. Ms. Smith, if you'd step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jeanette Smith. I'm the Executive Director for the Bricktown Association. My home address is 3105 Northeast 139th Street. I'm here to, on behalf of the Bricktown Association, just to make a few comments on this request based on the summary from city staff. Just wanted to comment again on this particular intersection relative to vehicle traffic. The sight lines, especially traveling northbound on Joe Carter Avenue, are not always clear. Based on the photos that were part of the application, they obviously showed a very clear intersection. However, the summary also did state that it could not take into consideration any type of temporary obstructions at this intersection. And I will tell you that on a daily basis, there are a number of cars that are parked on the south side of Sheridan on that intersection, as well as on the east side of Joe Carter, south side of Sheridan again, either in metered parking or in the driveway, and there's also a parking lot on that corner. And during busy times, there's a lot of cars that also park on the grass. In fact, on my way over here, there was a van parked on the grass right there. So unless you pull almost all the way through the intersection, a lot of times you cannot see around other vehicles. And since there is not a stop on that, it poses some danger to those vehicles coming into that intersection. Additionally, since there is no signage on that east-westbound Sheridan, there is a lot of confusion from people coming into the district. A lot of them stop anyway because they just expect to stop, and so that causes a lot of confusion for those people trying to maneuver that intersection. The other comment I'd wanted to make relative to obstructions is that within the next few months, there's going to be construction beginning on a new Homewood Suites and Hilton Garden Inn that's going to be on the south west corner of Sheridan and Joe Carter. And again, with, all major construction, there's going to be additional traffic in that area relative to construction crews, construction vehicles, and that sort of type of activity. And so as that intersection is difficult without the construction, I would imagine that it would become even more difficult to navigate with the construction crews. And then relative to pedestrian access and crossing the street, the only traffic control on Sheridan in that area is on Mickey Mantle Avenue, and then again on Lincoln. So during any kind of given day, you have traffic concerns with pedestrians trying to cross the street on Sheridan Avenue. There's the Hampton Inn there. There's numerous restaurants on the north side of Sheridan, and most of those folks want to cross the street in and around that area instead of having to walk all the way down to Mickey Mantle to cross the street safely. Having a four-way stop would at least create a break in the traffic so that pedestrians could cross a little more safely. Other than that, just wanted to reiterate that the Bricktown Association, the Board of Directors, and the property owners in and around that area all support the addition of some type of control at that intersection. So that's what I would like to say. I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Could we have staff summary, please?
Okay, you've got our full report before you. We did look at the intersection with respect to warrants for meeting the use of stop control. The intersection does have a sufficient traffic volume. However, what we're most concerned with is the introduction of a permanent always stop condition on Sheridan Avenue, which from Lincoln Boulevard all the way through the heart of downtown has got signal control at all the intersections. And this being, with Sheridan Avenue kind of being a primary road in and out of the Bricktown area, in addition to Reno and some of the others, which are all subject to signalized control. I think the introduction of an always stop, especially, at a location like this, would probably be unexpected. Ms. Smith did allude to the fact that there is future development coming to this area, and I think at some point in time the city will probably be looking at making a different type of traffic control change there. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that intersection will be signalized as that eastern end of the Bricktown area grows up. But at this point in time, like I said, our primary concern is that we don't introduce a form of intersection control which is out of conformance with everything else in the surrounding area. So at this point in time, we're not recommending approval for the always stop, and we will anticipate that in the future, as things change in that area, that different traffic control will be in place.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on 5C?
Make a comment, because this is my area down there. Just purely from a safety standpoint, it is a very problematic intersection for us in Bricktown. One, because people that do traverse north and south do believe it is a four-way intersection, and they'll stop and then pull out in front of traffic. On top of that, when we have special events or heavy traffic in the Bricktown area, it becomes a place where we routinely have bottleneck, and it takes manpower to clear it out. With the break in the traffic, will help let the people on the north and south side enter into the traffic flow to clear out people coming from the Deep Deuce or coming up from Reno. I've been personally almost hit there several times, and so many of my officers, and I've asked a bunch of my officers work down that area whether or not they would support a four-way stop sign there. In a perfect world, I would suggest we put in a traffic light, just because I do know of the new Hometown Suites coming in, and that's going to be, with the Hampton Inn. I've talked to Cy Perkins about the traffic that comes across there, and because it is one long shot, it's very hard for pedestrians to cross the street in that area. A break in the traffic is needed, and whereas I understand everything is traffic lights across there, and it would be a stop sign, at the time, that would be a fix for a problem that does exist, that's a safety concern of mine. This has been a concern for quite a while that me and Jeanette, I've talked to her about it, and I've talked to my officers. I've even put my motorcycle officers on it, watching it for cars blowing through the intersection. So purely from a safety standpoint and traffic movement for special events and from the police department, I personally support it. I understand what the numbers and everything say, but just looking at it from the aspect of being there day in, day out, and it's in the area that I'm responsible for, I think it would be a very good idea to put it in temporarily, or stop signs at least until, if it is going to be eventually developed into a full traffic control light. But in the meantime, it would serve its purpose and probably increase the safety of the traffic right there.
Thank you, Captain. Do I have a motion?
Sir, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 5C.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kula, seconded by Commissioner Schuline to approve 5C. Do we have any further discussion or questions of Ms. Smith or Captain Martin?
Mr. Chang, is it premature? It sounded like you were saying it'd be premature to put a signal in there now until the intersection develops more? Did I read that right?
Well, there's always the opportunity to install, if future traffic growth is projected at an area, it's not, it's always possible to kind of plan and build for things in the future. So it may be possible that maybe the commission may want to consider looking at, we could bring an item back, because any traffic control change like that has to be run through the commission, and maybe it should be presented as a traffic signal request. If there's more information relative to other developments, because, like the size of that Hometown Suites, I'm not exactly certain as to how big a generator that's going to be for the area. I'm not sure if there are any other things that are coming in, but, like the city does its best to build infrastructure in anticipation whenever, we know things are coming in. And it may be that there may be more of a demand that's coming in than, my office has been made aware of so far. So it may be, like I said, the one reason why we weren't advocating introducing stop control in there is because it would be foreign to everything else that was surrounding it. We're more concerned about providing a consistent traffic control, scheme to be used up and down Sheridan, as opposed to introducing. I can, appreciate the desire to interrupt traffic at a location like that. The only other things that come to mind is it's possible to potentially, if you were going to use like all-way stop at an intersection like that, we would probably need to look at putting in warning flashers and, to hang out over the intersection to go along with it. Because like I said, most drivers, especially visitors to the area, will probably become, acclimated to just seeing signalized control up and down this corridor, and that unexpected stop could lead to, an unfortunate accident if someone wasn't paying attention to what they were doing.
Which is something that we would ask you to look at when you go out there. So if this gets approved, you get the four-way stop up there, how, and other warning signs and other warning indicators of the four-way stop, of course, we would ask you to go ahead and just do it as appropriate. Is that what you're asking from us to approve? That if you need to do some extra things in your mind and in your staff's mind, do we need to bless that, or is that something that you just do on your own?
Well, there are a few new types of traffic control devices that have been approved through in the manual on uniform traffic control devices. One of which is what they call an LED enhanced sign. The city of Mustang has got, I think, one or two in place, but they're basically stop signs with LED blinkers built in around the perimeter of their sign. And they function continuously. And maybe something like that might be needed in order to bring a little bit more, to make the stop control at this intersection a little bit more evident. The city has no experience with them yet because we haven't installed any. But, I'm more concerned with making sure that drivers on Sheridan realize that outside of all the other intersections they pass through, they're not coming to an all-way stop condition as opposed to a signal-controlled intersection or an intersection where the side street is stopped and Sheridan's been given the right-of-way.
But my largest concern is when you're going eastbound from this downtown area, leaving, like that big tree there, and it seems because of the curb area, it seems like that really jumps out into the road pretty far. That would be a concern that, like you're saying, you go through the whole downtown area, there's no stop signs, as you're going eastbound, all of a sudden you hit this tree here. Oh, wait a second, yeah. You hit this tree, and it'd be very hard, you have to make sure that that's clean. Now, going westbound, that's a wide open area, I think, right?
Right, there's not really much in the way of landscaping west
Right.
of Joe Carter.
Right.
I'm sorry, east of Joe Carter.
Correct. So the biggest concern would be making sure it's properly marked, leaving the downtown area, going eastbound. That would be, and if you want to create some of those, come up with some of those creative things, we would support that, I would think.
I think this might be you said the city has not used any of these before. I think this might be a good place to try 4 of those and see if maybe make that as a recommendation as a test site to make it much more visible than just a plain stop sign, but then also make sure, now we may have to remove or trim one of these trees, I don't know, based on where the locations of the signs, they'll be in the appropriate place, and hopefully the trees are in the appropriate place now as well. But
I suppose my question more directly would be, should we go ahead and put a signal up there now instead of just stop signs?
Well, to do something like that, we'd have to take the item back and then present it again next month as not a stop sign, but as traffic signal. And we can do that.
Well, but then it goes into the queue, and we don't have control about when the funding's available for.
Right, but as far as the approval for that particular traffic control method at that intersection, it'll be there, and then from there, it's just a function of getting it funded.
It would be stop signs, whether they got flashing lights or not, is a more expedient, immediate thing that could actually be put in place in a couple of months instead of a couple of years. Is that correct?
The stop sign's like in a week.
We need something there now.
Well, if you go back through and you look at like the collision history, look at the traffic volumes or something, we don't have anything today that justifies use of like stop signs or traffic signals. But it may be that in the very near term that we'll be looking at something that might need something.
Right, and that's where we would defer back to Ms. Smith, that as she and the association look at that area and the growth, as it does grow, when you feel that you need to have better signaling, then you come back to us and we go from there, or we get it into the plans of what's being built around there. But for right now, stop signs would be okay.
I think right now a stop sign is very much needed, and I do agree that we continue to look at it and maybe come back and make a recommendation for a stop light. Yes.
If you feel that area grows enough and the amount of people in that area.
Yes, and I think we'll be able to make that determination by the early part of next year as construction begins on that hotel.
I was going on that picture where it says looking west on East Sheridan Avenue, that little brick building right there, the new hotel's going all the way from pretty much almost up against the Hampton all the way to the corner. So you're going to have 2 hotels right there. So eventually will a stoplight probably be needed? Yeah, but right now I think the temporary fix is sufficient.
we have a motion by Commissioner Kula, seconded by Commissioner Schuline, I believe, to approve the stop signs. And yes, I would like to add that we recommend that the city try the LED perimeter around the stop signs. We haven't used them yet. This looks like a great place to give them a test and see if they are truly of value. I'm sure they're expensive compared to a regular stop sign, but not nearly as expensive as a signalized intersection. So I don't know if we need to include that in our motion, or if that's something that we can do as, I don't know how much additional cost.
I'd be happy to make a motion to that.
Well, what I would ask for is that Commissioner Kula modify his motion based on on the information
So,
we've been given.
Mr. Ty, would you like me to be very specific on the wording, or do you just want me to say for you to get creative in doing what's right there?
You don't ever want to let me get creative. I think I would recommend that you pursue making a recommendation to utilize the LED enhanced stop sign.
Okay. Sir, I would like to modify my motion.
Okay.
I'd like to modify my motion and make it that we approve 5C with a recommendation to the staff to use the new technology that's out for LED enhanced stop sign.
And Commissioner Schuline seconds the modified motion. Further discussion, questions? If not, I'd like to ask for your votes, please. Approved unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Smith, for bringing that to our attention. And if you would kind of keep us informed, let us know how it goes. Thank you. That takes us to item 6, comments from citizens. And with the exception of Ms. Smith, I think we don't have any. Which takes us to item 7, which are the reports and other items from traffic commissioners. We'll start with Commissioner Witcher.
I have nothing to report, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Kula?
So I'd just like to ask the staff to work with the city planning in reference to the bike routes, trying to get all the signage out there and everything going and all the lessons learned through the winter time. So that way when March, April starts coming around, people start riding the bikes again. Maps have been out, the education information that the city planning department was talking about through the funding all gets out on the news and everything. And that way, when we do start the bike season, everything's up and running. So if we use this next 3-4 months, then we're up and running.
Okay, I think I'll just interrupt briefly. We did have, some of my staff did have a meeting with people from our Public Information and Marketing Office, and my associate Richard McCubbin can give you a little bit of information on the discussions so far to that effect.
The Public Information Office is looking at a public information campaign. They came to us with 4 different concepts, looking to have it out here the beginning of next year. One they were looking at was different fuels, same rules, pedal power versus gas, and but still having the same rules of the road, and some other campaigns in similar vein like that.
Yeah, it would just be good use of our time here in the next 3-4 months to get everything done and get the signs put up and all that education done, and that way when April starts, everybody's happy. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Clayton?
Allow me to deviate. I wish for you and your families a beautiful holiday. And by all means, think clearly why we are celebrating this time of year and beyond these days. God bless each of you richly.
Thank you. Commissioner Hale? Commissioner Schuline? Captain Martin?
No, sir, nothing.
Ms. Jackson? Why?
We had nothing to add. We didn't have any reports or any activity as far as additional yields or parking controls installed for this past month, so nothing more to add.
Any committee reports? With that, I think we have finished our business for this meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? We are adjourned. Thank you.